just when I thought that I couldn't possibly find anything new on an office chair, this thing popped up. And you won't believe some of the innovations and features that it has. So let me show you the Newtral MagicH. Now let's get stuck into one of the most killer features of the Newtral MagicH, which is the automatic adaptive back. Now I haven't seen anything quite this special on an office chair before, but it's basically a piston that sits behind the lower back portion of your chair and then follows your movement to provide lumbar support all sitting angles. So for example, if I lean forward, the piston has pushed it forward, and if I lean back, the piston then allows kind of that adaptation backwards. It truly is an incredible innovation. I can't stress how well supported my back feels. Now, when I initially sat on it, I could feel it give me a good back stretch in a way that no other ergonomic office chair that I've tested has done before. And I've got no trouble in saying that this is one of the most supportive systems that I've ever experienced. And this isn't the only thing with this piston movement. The headrest also features the exact same automatic suspension for your head, giving you a supreme level of cushioning and support. It'll be worth noting here that both the headrest and the back support can be locked in a singular position if that's what you prefer, but I think that this adaptability and flexibility which makes this chair really stand out. So why would you stop it from doing that? You can adjust the tension of this piston on the rear by spinning the large accented colour dial on the very back of the chair, which is good for people of different weights and different sitting styles. Now, all of the advertising on Newtral's site paint to this auto-follow mechanism as being the very, very first ergonomic office chair in the world to have this. And to my knowledge, I think that's correct. There's plenty of other brands with sprung lumbar supports, but nothing to this extent where the entire back follows you. These pistons and automatic adaptive technology aren't the only wild features of the MagicH as well. There's something else, which I'll show you in a little bit. But first, I want to point out that the rest of this design is as equally as interesting. For starters, they've decided to mix the material composition from the base and the back. The back is a breathable mesh, which is great for overall comfort and staying cool. But then the base is the exact opposite, which is a large sponged cushion. Although it seems pretty counterintuitive, I actually really like the design choice because it means that I'm getting the best of both worlds. A cool and breathable back with a seat base that's comfortable to sit on for hours upon end. Now, the seat base also has a hidden innovation of using different foam densities in different areas, which have essentially been designed specifically to improve circulation and reduce pressure in areas that are typical of alternative options. Now, this is quite a considerable difference to many other alternatives that only use a singular form of foam throughout the entire seat base. And I notice it almost immediately when I'm sitting on it, especially on the back of the legs. Quite typically on normal chairs, you'll get quite a lot of pressure where the chair tapers off, whereas on this, it's much more comfortable. This seat base can also be moved backwards or forwards to support either smaller or larger people. But it also has the effect, if you push it right back, of increasing the back support as you end up sitting much closer to the maximum distance that piston can travel. So if you wanted a stronger sensation on the back, then you'd want to push the seat all the way back. Now, the back height is adjustable too, although interestingly, Newtral seem to have opted for a semi-permanent adjustment here, in the sense that once you've found the height you'd like to adjust it to, you then stick a blank panel within the adjustment on the back, which I do like this a lot because it makes it look more finished in terms of aesthetics. But then on the other hand, if you're sharing, then I would advise not using these panels, as that could make things a little bit more difficult to adjust if you do, especially if you're like me and 6'8" and have to share with a tiny wife. Although not included in the box, when purchasing, they also offer different choices of wheels too, and thankfully, one of the options is a great big set of skate-type wheels, which I keep asking every chair manufacturer to produce, simply because they are much better than any other alternative, and it's great to see that Newtral are providing these with that option. It's just a shame they're not included with the actual chair. But obviously, the arms are adjustable too, and there's nothing really new in this respect. You've got height, width, distance from the back, the angle at which they can be turned to fit your own personal experience or preference. Now, what's different is the length of these arms. These are actually quite long in comparison to quite a number of office and gaming chairs that I've tested so far. And there's a very, very good reason, which is to do with that secret feature that I'm still going to show you in a minute. But these also have the added benefit of being especially supportive for people with longer arms, simply because they're longer, which is pretty good. They're made from some sort of EVA type durable foam, which feels rugged yet soft enough to provide a good level of comfort for long use. And when you've been working for hours, what better way to relax than to pull out the hidden footrest underneath, which features similar foam padding as the seat base. Now, this isn't the first time that I've seen this type of technology, but it's really, really nice to be able to kick back and relax once in a while, putting my feet up. But having now used the chair from my last episode, which had something very similar, I've come to the realization that working with the footrest up is actually a really difficult thing to do, especially with my height. I end up being nowhere near my desk because of my super long legs end up being against the wall when they're up. Well, here's when Newtral have really pushed the boat out with this one, because this chair comes with this. And this is the secret feature. You've seen a desk on the channel, you've seen a desk bike on the channel, and now you're looking at the very first chair that I've reviewed that is also a desk. And it's actually quite a fun little thing as well. For starters, you can get your laptop and use it like this and put it on the top. And it has little holes in it to let it breathe as well, which is really quite nice. So if you have an old laptop that does overheat, it's going to help it quite a lot. It also has an integrated neoprene mouse mat on the right for your mouse, which is pretty cool. Loads of little nooks and crannies as well to stuff all your rulers, pens, papers, whatever sort of stuff. Maybe even stand your phone up. It's even got a little thing here so you can enjoy a glass of wine whilst you're working. That's pretty cool. Although, it might take you a little while to find the right cup for it. Mine seems to work because they've got this smaller base and kind of like a rounded thing. It sort of slots in quite nicely like that. I've got some longer ones that work as well, but I don't think a standard wine glass will work. Now, if that wasn't enough, it even has an awesome little stand built directly into it. So you can pull it up like this, pop it out like that, and then there's a little thing on the bottom you can flick open so you can stand something like a tablet on it. It means I can do things like this. Sit with my feet up outside, glass of red wine, drawing a lovely life model. Look at that. Not bad, eh? Now, the assembly of the Newtral was actually relatively straightforward, although perhaps required a little more assembly than some we've reviewed before, so I had to get Ryan on the task of building it before we could review it. Now, what was nice was that all the screws and bolts were laid out in a clear and easy to understand packaging, which made the process certainly easier to get it ready to go. Now, overall, I guess I've loved the innovations that this chair has, and I think there's some truly, really interesting advancements, certainly in posture technology here from Newtral, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. There are a few things that I would love to see in the next version that would make me give this an 11 out of 10. The first is a higher level of tension in the rear piston. Now, I'm sort of a giant here, and I weigh around 100 kilograms, which is quite a lot heavier than most people. Now, being so heavy, it would be nice if the piston had a tiny bit more resistance. It's not that it's bad, I just think it could do with a couple more notches of adjustment, but I think that most people will find it sufficient enough. I'd also love to see more dedication with the desk. Now, this actually surprised me in the sense that I really, really love it. I thought it was going to be a bit of a gimmick at first, but having actually used it, it's a super relaxing way to work. So I would love to see more of a built-in integration for the next iteration of the MagicH. Perhaps if you could just push it to one side when it's not in use, or even fold it down one arm. Just make it more of an integration than an add-on like it is at the moment. At the very least, it would have been great to have had a slot on the chair for this desktop to live whilst I'm not using it. Still, my final thoughts on it is that I love the desk attachment way more than I anticipated that I would. And lastly, I'd love to see some more size options from Newtral. I'm 6'8", which is far taller than the average regular individual. Some would even say godlike. But with my height, I did find that I was pushing it to the absolute limits of the Newtral MagicH, certainly on the back height anyway. Although, again, this is a very me problem because the MagicH has a recommended height range of 5 foot to 6'5", and believe it or not, there's less than 1% of people over the height of 6'5". Unfortunately, I fall into that bracket, but most people should be fine. Now, as a disclaimer, the chair that I'm sat on is a pre-production sample that is launching through Kickstarter. So it may be that the final product might have a few small differences, but I would imagine that much of it will be the same. Now, after the MagicH has fully launched, the price will be $449, which actually I think is excellent value when comparing to a lot of other chairs on the market, especially considering this has loads of new features. But at its early Kickstarter stage, you can actually get it for $229, which is so cheap, I actually can't believe it. This isn't the first time Newtral have used Kickstarter either. They did the same with their Gen 1 chair, which raised nearly $1 million from over 2,000 backers. So these guys obviously have a lot of experience launching this way, but as always, this is launching through Kickstarter, so if you do choose to back this project, make sure that you make yourself familiar with all of the risks involved with backing projects by reading Kickstarter's trust and accountability statement, which I will link below. Now, because Newtral is a relatively new company, I can't really speak for the longevity of their products or the service that Newtral, from warranty perspective anyway, will offer. Now, I've searched for people's experiences, but with this being a new company, there isn't really a great deal to go off, especially as Reddit right now has pretty much gone dark. But looking at reviews on Amazon of their Gen 1 chair, it sits over 4 out of 5 stars. So review-wise, they're doing something right. All I can say is that with certainty, this is a really innovative product that stands out in a stagnant and saturated industry, and it caught my attention and my eye for that matter. And when I found out about the pistons and the fact that it has a desk on it, how can I say no to taking a look? And do you know what? I'm really glad I did, because this thing is a hell of a lot of fun, and more importantly, a really solid new competitor in the ergonomic office chair world. So, if you found today's episode helpful, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. And if you want to take a look at all of my other chair reviews, for there are many, I'll link a playlist below for you and above. It's definitely worth checking them out. But I'll see you back, guys, for another episode of Stu's Reviews soon.